And I'm not back. Okay, so yeah, yes. Hi everybody. I had a problem with my phone. Now it's okay. I closed the phone and we can start the meeting in a couple of
As soon
seconds.
as we have
I'm
everybody
approving
here.
everyone again. So I have Vicky now. Okay, show up Leah, show up Lorena,
I don't know where Leah is.
and the others. Okay. So yes, we're there. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't see everybody.
You will see them. Okay.
You see my beautiful the bridge. See
Oh,
that?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it,
Francisco.
Vicky. I
San
love that.
Francisco.
Okay.
That's where I want to go next after
Okay.
New York.
How is
Don't
Listia?
don't jump in. That's it. Okay.
Hello,
here
we come
go.
back.
Okay, we're back.
We're
The
back.
only other person we need is Shirley, who's probably spazzing out.
Shirley is.
Okay.
Hello, you there?
Everybody's there except for Shirley.
Lasita, you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, we're waiting for
Just Shirley.
Shirley.
Okay.
And
that's
is Leah not going to make it today?
Oh, okay. I know she said she was. I just
No,
spoke
she
to her 10
will.
minutes ago. Just taking
Yeah, I
some
think
time
so.
to hook in the computer and get herself together. Okay. That's that's par for the course. So we're all going to start, and we just want to wait for Shirley, and then we'll start. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Hello. Vicky, do you hear us?
I hear you.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Can you fix the camera on your
Maybe
face?
she doesn't want
Oh,
to.
I don't want to
No,
do
no,
that.
no, no. We want to see her
I'm
beautiful.
too.
Yeah, I want to see her
I-
beautiful face.
I want to go
my
to San
God, Vicky, now
Francisco
you see
more
what I'm
than see
looking.
myself.
Except
I
that
didn't get
it's,
to look at my hair. I mean,
Yes,
my hair grew
Loretta.
in, but it grew in very curly, and it's very short, and I hate it. But you're
I love
fabulous. I
it.
don't care.
Yes, Leah.
I think it looks very cute,
It
actually.
Thank
is.
you,
It's
yeah, but
really
I
cute.
hate
Look
it.
at my lady. She has her
Ah.
own hair. I didn't do nothing wrong. Look at it's her real hair. Can you imagine?
It's growing in.
Growing in. Growing in. She's
Okay,
cancer
who's this?
free.
Okay, yes, Shirley, let's go.
Yes,
Okay.
surely.
Okay, we wasted enough.
Okay, I will give you the Lancet ladies.
Okay, yeah.
And Vicky, I wanted to tell you, you
Yes.
don't have to look at yourself. You can look at everybody else.
I
And we
am.
can
I
look
am.
at
There.
you.
See.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
just
it doesn't
keeping
matter
the
whether
theme
we
going.
see you or we don't. At this point, I'd like to not see myself and see everybody else. Hi
Hello?
there, Hollywood lady. How are
Hello,
you?
I'm back.
I'm keeping the theme alive. I'm keeping
You
it
just
alive.
blew. They tried to blow you up, Tofi.
Okay.
Today I won't speak too much.
Yeah, he
I
already-
promise.
Don't count.
Agree.
Don't count.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
It will be
Boy,
miracle.
Want to be the big one.
Okay. We're gonna talk today. We want to keep it on happy thoughts. Maybe in 2 weeks from now, it won't be that happy because I think it's very important to talk about bias in our country, and we're gonna go back to some not so great topics, but what's happening with Asian Americans and just Asians all over the world and other groups. I think it's important to talk about that. So we'll do that not next week, but the week after. We'll give ourselves a week in between.
Hi, Leah. We're waiting you. We're already on Zoom.
Okay.
Okay.
So
If you
come
need,
when she
if
comes.
you need me, send you the link again. I will do it. Okay. Just show up. Love you.
That was his message to Leah. Okay, so let's start with Lisita. Are you ready to tell us about a vacation that you went on that you loved?
Okay. I was young. I can't remember exactly how young. And it was funny. I may be mixing up more than one vacation,
That's
but
okay.
my family liked to
I can
go
understand that.
to Europe in the summertime rather than staying in England where it was colder. So, but it wasn't just because it was colder in England. Europe was exciting and different and varied. And so this trip that I'm remembering, we went to Switzerland. And the thing that I don't remember, but it's very notable, was we were late for the ferry that took the car across from England to France. So my father called up, and he was a doctor, and he said, I've been delayed by a patient. Will you hold the ferry for me? And they held the ferry for us.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I can't
Amazing.
believe he had
Celebrity.
the gumption to do that. But
That's
anyway, one of our trips to Europe, he did that, and I thought it was worth sharing because it's so funny.
certainly
That's
is.
hilarious.
And then the other thing was that one didn't, at those days, we didn't plan everything carefully in advance. We would see where we would get to with a certain amount of driving each day and what looked nice. And then we'd go up to what were called pensions, where it was like a bed and breakfast place. And you would go in, and maybe we had some kind of map, or maybe we looked out for where it said pension at the side. And we would go and stay at different places, completely unexpected and gorgeous, and very small places. So they weren't like big hotels. They were, you met real people from the country. And when we were going around Switzerland, I think at some point we stayed at a hostel. And so there were quite a few people there, and it was near a national park. And my father and my sister and I went walking and looking for things. And my mother didn't feel like going walking, and she stayed at the campground area.
How old were
And
you?
she got to see the golden eagle that we were hoping to see.
Oh,
How old were you? Lasita, how old were you that time?
I think I was like 12, something like that.
Wow.
But it was very exciting, and I enjoyed that a lot. And we saw really different places and mountains, which I didn't see when growing up in London. So
That sounds
Good.
great.
Sounds great, and great times. Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, so I'll go next, and then we'll go
Okay.
to Miss Shirley.
oh,
I had a few vacations that I love. One of my very favorite vacations that I remember was one that I took with Ira. We went to Hawaii.
Oh,
And, oh my God, I could not. First of all,
Oh.
like, I'm constantly telling Tofi how beautiful it was. It was absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
We went to, of course, we did the luau thing, and we went to all different types of views and places and mountaintops and waterfalls and things that we don't see in New York.
Yeah.
Another very, very favorite was Oman. And then I have to
Wow.
think,
It's a Gulf country.
yeah,
in,
it's a
Middle
Gulf
East.
country, right? It's in Southwest Asia. And I went there to sort of work in schools, but it was sort of in the weekends, we sort of like had vacation time. And what we did, I was just training some teachers, it was really quick. What we did is to, to tour the mountains. And the best part is when they expected me to like go over a stream. And I have to say, I was wearing my favorite pair of sneakers. I wanted to shoot myself, but I said I must conquer this, and it doesn't matter. I can always get another pair of sneakers. And I did it. I was proud of myself that I didn't get too crazy with the stuff, and a little bit of climbing. And then they sat and they had a picnic. But the absolute beauty of this
Yes.
was the scenery.
And you know what? It's in Gulf country. Oman is at the southwest,
Right.
and all countries there, Gulf countries,
Southwest.
Arabia, southwest. Okay, Arabia Saudi, Kuwait, every place they have almost 50 degree in summer. You cannot, but this Oman country is a kind of beautiful, fresh, and
It
mountainous
was magnificent.
area. Yeah, and
Absolutely magnificent.
yeah, and all Gulf countries there, people have a lot of money. They have houses and they go for vacation there to Oman. Beautiful country. Yeah.
Also, my last beautiful vacation, I can share as many as I want, but I'm going to stop at 3 because the third is a charm.
oh, so we can do more than one.
Well, of course you can, Shirley. Would I
Yeah,
ever?
Well, I don't know.
I know you. I'm not going to limit you. Where I met Mr. Wonderful. I had gone It wasn't actually a
Yeah,
vacation.
wonderful.
I was also there for a workshop, but I also was in a place called Agadir, which I had never visited before in Morocco. Beautiful beaches, water, beautiful scenery. It looked a little bit like I'm trying to think of how I can compare it to here. Like a small beachy kind of area. It wasn't as beautiful as San Diego, but it was still beautiful in its own right. And of course, I met Tofi there, so that would be another favorite vacation. So I think I'm all talked out. Okay, Miss Shirley, hit it.
Oh,
Go ahead. Hit it.
well, I'm glad we can tell that too, because I was trying to decide which one to tell.
Tell both. Go ahead. We're all ears.
As an army brat, we traveled a lot, moving from one place to another. I went to 10 schools in 12 years,
Wow.
all in different states and countries. But one really comes forth is a trip we took. We lived in Heidelberg. We were stationed in the 133rd Division Hospital, Heidelberg, Germany. And the schools really encouraged our families to take us as much as possible out of school and visit Europe, because it might be the only chance. And as it turned out for me, it was. We took a lot of vacations, but I think one of the coolest, absolutely coolest, because everything was so unexpected. And that was leaving Heidelberg. We drove south and then into the Swiss Alps and then into Italy. And we were on the Adriatic side. And as typical with my dad, we got lost.
Oh, God.
And my brother and I are looking down the side of the cliff down into this narrow road going like this. And we're looking down at the Adriatic Sea. We're going, we're going to.
So that would make it 6
Okay.
One second, Shirley.
One
Shirley,
second.
1 minute, because Sophie's being rude.
Not rude. I'm sorry. This lady should be here, so I'm just contacting her. Go ahead, Leah. We are all here.
The message I had is that you were on at 1 o'clock Eastern
Don't-
time.
Leah,
It's okay.
Leah,
It's 1:22, Leah.
Leah.
Let's
6
go.
o'clock.
sister, sweetheart, lovely lady, we are there.
Okay, bye.
Go on link and you will be with us.
I'm sorry, Shirley.
Bye-bye. I love
Okay,
you.
I'll go do that. Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
I love you. Bye.
Okay, go ahead, Shirley. I'm sorry.
Okay, so
Sorry, I'm sorry.
you're forgiven one time only.
I know him. He's gonna need a lot more than one. You are
2 times,
forgiven.
you're out.
Go ahead.
I love you ladies, all of you. So when one is
Oh,
missing,
Come on, let her.
I'm not a lady, I'm a woman.
okay, I'm sorry, Hollywood lady. Go ahead.
Hear me roar. Okay, so you all know my dad's history, so you never knew what was going to show up, but he was really on this trip really good. Didn't drink, didn't get drunk, didn't cause any scenes, and it was a trip that was totally unplanned. Other than we were going to Italy, and then all the way around the boot, and then into France, and then back to Heidelberg. So we went into Switzerland. We got to see some of the Alps, and I don't remember too much there, but just how curvy the roads were and how scary that was. One of the coolest things that ever happened to us as a family was we did get lost on the Adriatic side of Italy, and my dad was freaking out. And we were on this narrow 2-lane road going winding around this mountain on the side, and all of a sudden we drove, and it was dark. We drove straight into a little village, and somehow they were watching one TV in the middle of their town center. And we drove in, and the little villagers just started freaking out. They go, Americana, Americana, Americana. And we said, we're lost. And they said, no worries. They gave us free hotel. They gave us free dinner and free breakfast and put us on our way. So that was really it was one of those things where you expect the unexpected. And those were the joyous moments to actually be with the people and not the guided tour type junk. And then it happened again the very next day
That's
when
interesting.
we left that village and drove south somewhere around the boot. We got lost again, and we drove straight into a wedding that was an Italian wedding that was being held on the street.
Oh my
And
God.
they just stopped it. Oh, join us, oh, yeah. It was so fun. The spontaneity of just no plans, driving in and seeing this wedding going on, and then they started participating, putting us in the wedding celebration. And so those are pretty cool. We went around the boot. We went to see. We went to Naples and went to Pompeii.
Good.
We went
It
to
is.
Pompeii, and I remember just being horrified by what we were seeing, you know, with the bodies encased in lava. And then the guide took us up Vesuvius and stuck a piece of paper into the side of Vesuvius, and it came out on fire. And it was like, we want out of here right now. Get out. So that was fun. We went to Rome, you know, we did the whole thing, Florence and all that, but it was those two spontaneous moments
Yep.
that were totally, and we were in Rome, and we're all, our family was all Methodist, so we were not familiar with Catholic traditions, but certainly we knew the Pope. We were eating dinner one night right outside the Vatican, and we started hearing somebody pounding wood with, you know, nails into wood, and everyone in the restaurant started looking around. And so we walked outside. We were in the Vatican on a restaurant right facing, and they were putting up parchment paper. The Pope had died.
Oh.
And so my parents decided we're going to stay so that the kids can watch how they choose the next Pope. So we got to watch the funeral of the Pope. That's all. I've got that all on old brownie film. And then we stayed until the black smoke kept coming up, and the black smoke kept coming up, and then the white smoke. And so we were there for his death, his funeral, and the choosing of the new Pope. I don't remember the names or anything, but that was pretty. It was a spontaneous moments in those 3 years of traveling. That just you can't match. You could not plan for any of this. And from that, I learned I would never take a tour.
Wow.
So that was a really fun one. And then there's one more, and I'll do it real quick.
Go ahead. Take your time.
I worked all the way through college. I didn't take vacations. I didn't do spring breaks. I worked. Came out here, taught, and then summer school, teach. I divorced my first husband 5 years, about 4.5 years before after we got married. And I was teaching, and I met a younger man who was just like unbelievably amazing. He was the first surfer I ever knew. And we decided to buy an old van, decorated it all hippie up with the India cloth and all that, you know. And we just said, here we go. And we started up the 101. And God, the things that we spent the first night, Vicky might know, Goleta, where UCSB is, Leah knows, the railroad tracks. It was so free. It was in the summer, but I'm used to a south-facing beach. These were west-facing beaches, and we nearly froze to death that first night of camping. We were so freaking cold. And then if it wasn't for that, the trains kept going by. But through it all, we just laughed and laughed. I read the Hobbit. I read a couple of I don't know. I read several books. It was the only vacation I've ever had in my life that was a true vacation. where
Wow.
everything was unplanned as an adult. No expectations. We ended up going all the way to the state line of Oregon and Washington, and then coming back down and ending up in San Diego, and then coming back to Orange County, where we were both living at the same time. But that the things that happened on that little trip, just what I found is I don't think I'd ever want to take a planned trip, a cruise, a planned tour. It's much more interesting and much more spontaneous to just travel, and whatever happens, happens. So those are my two very best vacations. Once as a kid and once as a young adult.
Yeah, it's much better that way. It's exciting.
Did you go
Oh,
to Big
much
Sur?
better.
Did you go to Big
Oh
Sur?
God, yes. In fact, when we got to Big
Hobbitville.
Sur, that was
Yeah.
Big Sur was just packed. I'd never been there. I could not believe how glorious it was. It's the most beautiful
It's so
place,
beautiful.
really,
So
on the planet.
amazing place.
It's unbelievable, and it was just loaded with a lot of hippies.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
the first time I ever saw people swimming in the river naked. And
Hobbitland.
gorgeous. I remember walking with Jim through fields, just fields of beautiful flowers, and this standing on the edge of the very top of Big Sur and looking down at that. It's indescribable.
Amazing place.
It's got to be
I
one of
know.
the most beautiful places on earth.
Now I
Wow.
want to get a hippie van and go
I
back.
want to go there. Let's go.
Yeah, we really did that. Me, the nice little prim school teacher. That's when I started awakening.
Did you go swimming naked too? I hope. You don't have to tell me.
No, I didn't. No, I had too many, but it was one of the most, in fact, for years and years, I used that site at Big Sur as a point of meditation. When I would go into meditation, I would think of just the most beautiful place I'd had, and the joy and the spontaneity. I would meditate. I would start my meditation by thinking Big Sur. Oh my God. Oh.
It's kind of like your happy
You know what,
place.
Leah, you go on up out of there and get into the sequoias.
Sure.
And now, do you know how many of those are gone?
No,
Don't tell me.
Let's
No,
not
it's
think about
devastating.
that. New
The
But you know,
Newburgh.
I was there when I was 5, and they were so
Oh.
beautiful.
Oh, I've never seen
Gorgeous.
anything like it in the mist. And then you're in the midst. It was always misty.
Yeah,
and
like
there are these
Hobbitland.
Incredible giant trees,
Yeah.
redwoods in there. Oh my God, we just couldn't believe it. We took my little Cocker Spaniel with us. When we got to Oregon, we camped on some river, and Jim took his surfboard, and I remember he took my dog Peaches surfing on the river.
On the river.
Yeah, just they were riding the surfboard on the river. I mean, just so many great things like that. Because I'd lived such a, outside of traveling with my family, everything was pretty rigid and planned, and
Yeah.
always nervous. Am I doing the right thing? And I just said, let it go. I'm going to go and see what happens. And it was an incredible experience I will never, ever forget.
I can see it from the way you just talk about it. It just
Yeah,
opens
it
you up
was.
completely.
And you know what? We as a couple, we only lasted about another year, but it was fine. It was time to move on. And I couldn't imagine marrying somebody that didn't have a job, just surfed all the time. But I adored him, and he had just the freedom I had with him and doing all the crazy things that we did. Absolutely fantastic. That
Sounds like it
trip
was good for your
that and-
soul. Good for your soul.
Oh, absolutely. It opened, it started letting this very controlled girl just let go.
No,
Let
sure.
go and let
You
it
were
happen.
talking about hippies and stuff. It makes me think of course, mind expanding drugs. But you didn't take mind expanding drugs that I know of. But it sounds like the trip was a mind expanding.
It was.
Oh,
We did, but pot was. We did once in a while. Somebody would give us a joint, and
I would
back
add
then it was
something.
like,
Sorry for interrupting you.
this was all, believe me, this was all very natural because it's not like it is today where you can buy pot down the street at Kmart.
True.
It's still illegal over here in the UK. You can
Oh
still
my God, it's so ridiculous. It's California was the first to do this, and oh, the people went screaming and yelling at right here in Long Beach, which is a liberal bastion. People were writing in, we don't want our children walking past marijuana stores. Oh, but I remember writing a letter to the local paper and saying, but it's okay for your children to walk past every other store that sells booze and cigarettes and sex toys and sexy lingerie, but it's not okay for people to get medical help from a non-addictive form. But
I
all that
know. Doesn't that get you? I mean, you can go into every supermarket, everywhere you go, there's alcohol everywhere, thrown at you
everywhere.
right,
And
left, and
cigarettes
center.
still, and cigarettes.
And cigarettes. And then they won't give you a sort of a pain pill for your dental pain.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
In fact, the Press Telegram, which is the local paper I don't take anymore, they printed a map of all the places that there were. All these got shut down, but they opened up years ago, and they did a map of where marijuana stores were being opened. And I wrote the letter and I said, okay, you need a map of where all the pot shops are. I want you now to print a place where everyone can buy alcohol.
Good for you.
You won't.
Well,
be-
we
I
know
said,
where that is.
That is the worst drug in the world in
Yeah.
terms of longevity.
Really is.
And
And
just
And the number of people it kills, it's something like
it's
three
okay
airplane,
for you to
three-
walk past a liquor
300
store
pound-
and a cigarette, yeah.
I was just gonna say, alcohol kills 3 plane loads of 300 passenger planes a day.
wow.
I was
Wow.
told that I was told that by an alcohol specialist.
Well,
from
and
government.
what about cigarettes?
I don't know about, but this was an alcohol talk.
Yeah, but I mean,
Um,
I complained
We are on
about.
vacations, not on debts. Okay, we're talking about happy.
Let all go.
Well,
happy.
life is a vacation.
Come to
I
the-
love you all. So
fun.
good to see you, Leah and Vicky. Where are you?
I'm here.
I'm
I'm
taking
here.
Never seen you, Vicky.
I'm in
Vicky,
San
hi,
Francisco.
hi,
San
hi. I
Francisco.
couldn't see you. I couldn't see
Currently-
you.
Are you
Currently
in
San
Francisco?
Francisco.
I
San
can see the
Francisco
bridge.
on my
but
brain.
I can see the bridge, but not you.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying the bridge.
Don't
I'm-
jump, Vicky.
The bridge is
Don't jump. No
gorgeous.
matter how bad it gets, do not jump.
Oh, I promise. I promise. At least not that bridge.
It's just nice. It's nice to see you. I hardly ever see you, I think.
I'm here every day.
And who's the family that's here with us today? There's a
Welcome.
family here.
Well, actually,
No, no, no.
This
That
beautiful
was something
Lynn.
else. That was something else. That was the family.
Oh, that's
of-
not, they're not with us
Facebook.
on this?
The
Okay.
family of Facebook. Oh, there they are.
No, that.
Where's the family on
Where's
Facebook?
this?
Ladies, let's go to Leah. Leah, what about a vacation that you took?
okay,
God, I have had so many amazing vacations. I mean, not because when I say amazing vacations, I just mean going 2 hours away can be amazing to me, but this is the one thing that really sticks in my mind. When I had my daughter, Rachel, she was, I was just about to say when I had my daughter, Rachel, she was newborn.
Hell.
Yeah, right. Okay. It makes
What do you mean? What do you mean, Leah? Go ahead. What do you mean by?
I had
Okay.
Rachel, okay, and that was a brief period of time when we had moved to Cambridge from Aberystwyth. So because Ian had a job there for a while, and we didn't like Cambridge, so we came back here. Anyway, But that's where Rachel was born. And it was a beautiful place to be born. It was amazing. Anyway, that's a different story. The point is, when you over here in the UK, you get something called child benefit when you have a baby, and you also for each child. So I had Avery as well. So I had child benefit for the both of them. But me being brilliant, I'm not making fun of myself, but I can forget things. And I forgot that I could get child benefit. So didn't get it. And that's to help you so that you can pay for things, because see, quite a lot of people are poor over here, and the child benefit helps them to have some money for the kids, you know, and also some money for them, because they don't necessarily have any money for themselves either. So it's kind of the mother's benefit, you know. I don't even know if they still have it. I don't know, but they did then. And that was like 32 years ago or something. Anyway, I didn't get it. So that's cool. I wasn't thinking about it. And then we moved back to Aberystwyth, and I was here, and we were here. I'm sorry.
I'm still trying to figure out the vacation part.
Leah,
Yeah, so we were here, and I one day I received a letter in the mail, and because you have to let them know the government know where you've moved or stuff. So I did, and then I received something from the child benefit people. I said, "What the heck is this?" And they said that for the last 2 or 3 years, you have not collected your child benefit money.
Ooh.
And so I was in possession of this check, and we weren't very well off. We're not well off now, but you know, we're better off now than we were when we were younger, right? And at that time we were really struggling, and maybe I was frivolous. I don't know. I have that nature to be a bit frivolous sometimes. I like to have fun, basically, put it like that. And I thought, good grief, I have had all this money all this time when I could have been giving people treats and buying them clothes or things and doing stuff, you know, and I didn't do it. So what can I do? So without even consulting with Ian, which is maybe not the best thing to do in the world, I looked around in the travel brochures, and if you look on the Isle of Britain map, or UK, the United Kingdom, you'll see over towards Cornwall, over towards the southwest, there's a little island, teeny tiny island. It's called the Isles of Scilly. And it used to be a bigger place. It was Neolithic. There's lots of Neolithic monuments and Stone Age monuments, you know, lots of really old things happened there. People lived there because it used to be all one continent, you know, it was all one landmass from Europe to Britain. And so then the waters came in, and slowly but surely, the Isles of Scilly became these tiny little islands. And I thought, wow, that's cool. Never heard of it before. So I thought, we're going to go there. So I looked into prices. The prices seemed reasonable enough. You could take a train down there. It was an 8-hour train, and then you could take a ferry boat. And then we thought, I thought I found a little household on one of the islands, because there's about 6 of them. And I found a little house that I could not rent, you know, a little vacation place that you could go there. It was really quite cheap because, you know, a lot of people don't go to the Isles of Scilly, so it's not a hugely expensive place. So Rachel was about 3, Avery was about, I'm going to get confused with time. 3, Avery must have been about 10. And so I said to Ian, I've done 2 things. One, I bought myself a coat, and it was an extravagant coat, which for me, I just went to this place and I got myself a nice coat. And then the second thing I've done is I've made a trip for us in June to go for 3 weeks to the Isles of Scilly. They said, what the? I said, well, I have a check here. It's for, whatever, it was more money than I'd ever had sent to me. I mean, we're not talking like thousands and thousands, but we're talking more money than I'd had sent to me. So it was enough. I said, look, I've paid for it. I've paid for the ferry tickets. I've paid for the place. Are you happy with it? Because we can change it. It's not too late. And he said, well, okay. Because Ian doesn't like surprises. He's a person, he does not like surprises. He likes things to be planned. He likes things to be orderly. And I'm kind of like the disorder that comes into his order. I bring a bit of a boom, and he
It works, and you know what? That's the relationship Frank and I have. Really, I'm the crazy one. He's the rock.
He is the rock, and I need that. I need that rock.
We've been married. We're going on 33 years being married. But people, when they first met him, were like, "Oh, he's so boring." Now they adore him. They give him awards for living with me all these many years.
Same thing, Shirley.
I kept dating, and except for that guy Jim, for years, all I did was date and marry men just like my dad. And then I met Frank, and
that's exactly the same thing. People said he's boring.
Yep.
He says he's boring. I say he's not.
No, Frank isn't boring at all.
He keeps me grounded. I mean,
yes.
He helps to keep me grounded. I keep myself grounded, but he helps me to keep grounded. He's and I do see him as a rock. I really
That's
do.
how I do too, Leah.
So I can't help it. I mean, I need a rock because otherwise I'm like, woo, where am I? But anyway, so I said, look, I know it's kind of upsetting. I kind of threw this on you and I'm sorry, but I really think we deserve to have a bit of fun. It's been tough. We've had some tough, rough years here, I mean, we really did. We didn't have enough money to buy a crib. We had to buy a £20 crib from somebody in some poor section of Cambridge. Ian's parents actually had a little bit of money, but they weren't going to help us because they didn't like me. And they didn't like that Ian married me. And that's cool. They eventually got used to it, but they didn't like it at first for a long time. And the dad never did. But anyway, enough of that.
Yeah.
So how was the trip?
Okay, thank you. I need that grounding, okay?
How
Be my
was
rock.
the trip?
Shirley, be my rock, okay?
I'm your rock,
anyways,
Leah.
So I got him to sort of say, yeah, okay, we'll do it. So we went and we took this trip to Penzance, which is on the corner of a different section of Britain. And we took the ferry boat. And the interesting thing about the ferry boat, it's called I don't know, is it called the SS Scilly? Anyway, the actual name for it amongst the people I soon learned was vomit bucket.
No.
The vomit bucket.
Oh,
It was indeed the vomit bucket because this ferry goes on shallow waters. And when you have a ferry go on shallow waters and nothing can get deep enough, you go the storm and you every single dip and rise you feel. And people were vomiting everywhere.
Oh God.
Everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And I could not, now Avery was unbelievable because she was just going all the way around the ship. I didn't know where the hell she was. I mean, it was kind of scary because I was just so nauseated. I get nauseated easily. And I had to end up going down to the clinic at the bottom of the boat. and have an ice bag. And I was saying the Lord's Prayer over and over and over and over again. Even though I don't usually say the Lord's Prayer, I was saying it over and over and over again. I thought I was going to die. And I was just so sick, just vomiting like mad. And I thought this is really off to a bad start. But what happened was we finally got there. And it was only like 2 hours away. I mean, it was just a brief, unpleasantness. And when we got there, we were able to take a boat from the mainland of the Isles of Scilly, which is one little bigger island. And actually, we stayed there for 1 week, and it was just so incredible. It was so different from any kind of Britain that I knew. It was like, it was an island, and you could walk around the whole island in one day. And so we were walking around and we were bird watching, and they have all kinds of different birds there and seals and all sorts of things. And so we we were at that place. That was so fun. I mean, we just had never had a vacation ever. And this was our first vacation we'd ever had. And I guess, we'd been together for 4 years or something. We just never had one. Not that kind of a vacation, a real one. We'd gone to a restaurant for, coffee, but that's about it. And so we were there, we had lobster, and it was just so amazing. So, but then you take a boat and you go to a different if you look at the islands, this one called St. Martin's. So we went to St. Martin's, and that's where I had this house that I had rented from a farmer there. And her name was Sue, and her husband, who was a captain of this little boat that took you around to the island. And we got there, and there was this little tiny cottage, which was, stone, small cottage, just very quaint. And the whole place was so small. I mean, it was like the size of my, it was nothing. I mean, it was tiny. And so there we are, and it was kind of gorgeous. But then the rain started. We were out for this walk, and 2 things happened I want to tell you there. One thing was we were walking along this very tiny island, and Avery disappeared, as she often would, because she always ran ahead and could never stay with the group. And I thought, where's she gone, Avery? And then she said, Mom, come here. So I came over there, and then it was the usual thing I did with Avery. I said, oh, Avery, that's interesting. What are you looking at? Because I didn't want to scare her. She said, I'm looking at this incredible look way down there at the bottom of this cliff is this beautiful water. I said, Avery, do you realize that you're actually on the edge of the cliff? That's just sand, and it can crumble and stuff. Maybe you should move back a bit. And because you always had to be really calm, don't you, when someone's in that kind of situation?
Wow.
I am like scared shitless, but I'm not going to let you know, because I don't want to scare you, because you're about to fall down to your demise, So she kind of backed up, and I said, thank you. It's beautiful. And we carried on. But then suddenly these rains came pouring down, and lightning came. And I said, I have never in my life, and never have since, the lightning was striking in front of us. I could see it. I could see the sparks of the lightning. It's just, we were in the worst electrical storm I've ever been in. And I said, folks, there's no place to go. We're just going to have to go and get back to that little place. So we were just kind of chased by these electrical booms. It was so weird. I've never experienced it since or before, or anyway, never have. But we managed to get back alive without those blue lights killing us, and or the yellow. Anyway, they were booming. They were right. They were right there. I mean, they were right, and so we got back to our little cottage. And Sue, who ran the place, basically, she had this huge pig, and she also was a painter, and she painted beautiful watercolors of all of the scenes. And I couldn't afford to buy one. I wish I could, but Sue Lewinskin was her name. Yeah. And it was just a lovely, it was a lovely place and friendly people. There was only like one little grocery sort of kind of store. It was like one room, and there were a few cans of, baked beans and spam, or, nothing. And that's what we had to eat for a couple of weeks, whatever that was. Absolutely. And some fresh fish, and that was great. So this was a lovely time, even though it was raining some of the time. There was Wimbledon was on, so that was kind of fun to watch the tennis. And I mean, it was just, I know this doesn't sound like much, but I had never, we hadn't been on a vacation, and this was like, wow, here we are in this tiny little cottage. We were all sleeping together, not together in the same bed, but in the same room. And it was just beautiful. It's beautiful. If you look at any pictures of the Isles of Scilly, you will see it is beautiful. And so you can also take boats in the daytime if you can, to other islands around, and they're all very small. And one is called, oh damn, I forget the name of it. It actually has a bird sanctuary and flower sanctuary. And actually, the Prince of Charles, those people, those royal family people, they actually own all of the Isles of Scilly. That is theirs. Okay. Most of Britain belongs to 3% of people. Most of the land here, most of everything belongs to 3% of the British people. So the rest of us are all just sort of, even the waterways, it's all belongs to the very richest of people in Britain, or
No different.
Saudi Arabia or wherever. It doesn't belong to the British, doesn't
That's
belong.
something I didn't know.
Yeah, it's not something that belongs to the common people. Just real a little digression. For example, a friend of mine likes to kayak. In order to get permission to kayak down certain rivers, she has to get the permission of maybe 4 or 5 farmers to kayak through their part of the river.
What?
It's probably an insurance thing, huh?
No, it's
Sorry.
this is our property. This is our, don't trespass.
If somebody gets hurt or something, they could get.
You need to,
That is their
Oh, that's
land.
true.
And
You
they
don't
don't
have to
want
worry
you.
about that.
They don't want you trespassing on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Oh,
No, it's not really about them being worried about your health. It's that they
Falling
own
down or something.
all this estatage, and it's theirs, and they want permission. You have to have permission to go on it.
Probably no hunting and that kind of thing, right? You're not allowed to hunt on those properties.
You have you do have some public pathway, not public. I can't think at the moment, but anyway, there are trails that you can follow on a map where you have tiny bits of land which are open to the public, but that's only because of the Queen's pleasure.
Oh,
But it's the other thing about England, because I grew up in England, which is
I
in
know you.
contrast to the States, is you can walk from one side of the country to the other through these little pedestrian pathways, and you go over stiles, like special.
oh yeah, I know what those. Yeah, I know what those are.
And but in America, you can't do that. Nobody's created a way that you can, other than on the particular
Like
path,
the Appalachian
the
Trail
Pacific
or
Trail and the
Pacific
Appalachian
Crest Trail.
Trail. But in
Uh-huh.
England, there are pathways all over the countryside. So I
Yes.
think that's an advantage.
Yeah,
even
That's
that's
an advantage, but you must admit that it doesn't belong to the people. It belongs to the Queen.
You have permission.
It's permission. You have permission, and you have permission to swim in the waters as well, in the ocean.
Talk to me about water, Leah. It's enough with you and water.
Got to be
Okay.
a legal thing.
It's just a question of ownership, but enough about that. But I want to get to my story, which is that, so we had this incredible time of of amazement, but the weather wasn't totally groovy movie. But it was okay because we were just happy. And but on the day to come back to the mainland and then to go back finally to, you know, home, the waves were going, whoa, huge waves. And I thought, we're not going to be able to leave today. There's just no way. And yet the captain, who was our landlord or whatever, he said, I don't know. It's kind of iffy whether we go or not. I'm going to go ahead and go. I think we can do it. So I don't know why we stupidly, well, we did, it worked out okay, but we trusted him, but I'm not sure we should have. So me and the kids and Ian got onto this guy's boat along with some other people. It's not a big boat, you know, it's a small boat with sides that are all open. The guy was walking around with to get his money. And I said to him, Ian laughs about this. He says, I said to him, listen, I'll give you the money for this trip if we get to the other side. Okay. So I was seriously not real happy. But I took Rachel into the one little tiny part of the cabin and I held her and tried to make her feel secure. Everything's okay. But it wasn't. The water was coming so close to the side of the boat that it literally, like Ian was out there with Avery and they could see the water just really level with the side of the boat. Any higher and we'd be swamped. There was no way about it. It was a dangerous sea. We should not have been on it. But he was a clever captain, and I guess maybe he knows his water better than, well, I don't know. We had luck, you know, everything on our side. Things were going okay because we made it to the other side. It was a sickening ride, and it was scary as all heck. It really was. Ian thought we weren't going to get out of it. And Ian's not he's not a guy who gets scared. Like, you know, he's not a worrier like me. I mean, he just really just didn't think we're just not going to make it. It was a very scary ride. So we got to the other side. I paid the guy, but you know, we got to the mainland of the Isles of Scilly, which is a very small island, and we were walking along. But then I saw the SS Vomit Bucket, and it was going up and down, up and down. And I thought, I'm not getting on that boat. I don't care how long I have to stay. I'm not getting on that ship. I'm just not. Nope. And Ian said, we have to. I said, I can't. I was actually sickened by it. And this man who was a captain, obviously himself, he came by and he said to my husband, Ian, he said, is she okay? Are you okay? He said to me, because he said, you're white as a ghost. And I said, I don't want to go on that ship. I mean, I was really pretty much speechless. I wish I could show you. It was really going high and really going down low. And he said, well, you know, if you don't, you can fly back. Now, if you know me at the time, you know I had a kind of fly phobia. I don't now, but I did then. Phobia? Did I say it? Phobia? I'm not saying this right. Phobia.
Phobia. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
we got it.
We knew. Scary word.
Scary word. That's why I'm having a hard time. He said, look, if you don't want to go on the ship, there is a little tiny airport down you can go, and you can take a little flight back. And I thought, I'm not sure that's much better, but I said, yeah, I mean, I'm not going on that boat, so I'll go on the flight. So a tiny little plane, just enough for my family to fit in. And we, man, it was a tiny little airport, I mean, a tiny little plane. And when you go off the aisle, the airplane actually literally just, the runway goes right to the edge of the island and off it goes. There's no runway really. You just go and then you're off. And it was like, I can't believe this, suddenly we were flying. And you know what? 15 minutes later, we were on the mainland. And as we were flying, I was just looking down, enjoying myself like crazy. I could just see the waters going, and I'm way up there just sailing along in the sky, having, I loved it. It was beautiful. And so we, in 15 or 20 minutes or something, we were at the other side. And do you know that when we got to our hotel, we got settled and everything, we could see the SS Vomit Bucket still off in the sea. And apparently it stayed there for 12 hours.
Oh my God.
It would not come to roost for 12 hours. It didn't come to port. And so you would have, if we had taken it, we would have been on that for 12 hours. So I was so happy, for one thing, that we had our first family vacation. Two, that it came so surprisingly, and like it was as if it was free. But I mean, in fact, it was kind of like the government had saved, it had a savings for me. I mean, it was marvelous. I wish it happened all the time. And thirdly, I just loved it. Loved not being hit by lightning. Loved Avery not falling down a cliff. Loved just the beauty of it, and it was. I can't remember feeling quite so happy as I felt on that trip, which was, you have to admit, it's almost 30 years ago, and it's still in my mind so vividly and so
Yeah.
perfectly.
Yeah, I'm impressed with how much you remember of it.
Oh, I could tell you so much more about the beds, the TV program, everything. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just so important to me, every second of it. I just was so incredibly happy to be there with everybody. And the flowers are different on the Isles of Scilly. It's a slightly more tropical. If you ever listen to the weather reports over here, you'll hardly ever hear about the Isles of Scilly. It's as if they don't exist, but they do, and they are part of the UK. But I also love the fact that I really enjoyed the airplane ride. Was like, that was, I mean, it was absolute heaven. It was like such a gift.
Yeah, that's
We were saying, oh, it's just marvelous. And so, I mean, I know that doesn't sound very exciting to anybody, but it was just
It sounds good to me.
absolute
I think
joy.
it does.
I do too. It sounds like a space and time.
It was a joy. It was just pure joy. I will always think of it as pure joy.
Oh.
Okay, Miss Vicky, do you want to share, or would you like to share?
Sure, I'll tell you. I've traveled a lot. I've been blessed
I
with.
know, that's why I asked you.
Yeah, but one time in particular stands out in my mind is I was 12 years old. I went with my grandparents, and what they did was, for all of us kids, they gave us a trip when we were 12 years old, because I guess when you turn 13, it costs more to fly. So it just so happened that when I turned 12, we were able, they were going to go back east. And so it was my first time to go to New York. And so it was really special. Yeah. We stopped off in Washington, D.C. We flew to Washington, D.C. from Salt Lake City, Utah. And, we visited, all the treasures that are there, that are to visit. Went to the Capitol, and my grandparents were, my family was always involved with government. And so they knew a lot. My grandfather knew a lot of people in Washington, D.C. And so they introduced me to, the politicians at the time. And I got to meet, the Supreme Court people and all that stuff.
Oh,
So that was kind of special. And then but all this was a first to me. And that's what was so special about it, being on the East Coast. Because I don't know if you know much about Salt Lake, but it's kind of, oh, no, I love it because I grew up there, but spent a lot of time in the mountains. And it's really a beautiful place, but it's not like a big city. It's more provincial. And so going to Washington, D.C. first and seeing all the things, going to the Smithsonian, and that was just like a whole new world for me. And then we took a train up to New York City, and we stayed in a hotel that was like beyond my imagination, because it was so high off the ground. And I was just so impressed by the immenseness of the big city. And then after that, we spent time there. And then we went to Philadelphia, and I got to meet my grandmother's sister, and we went out to dinner, and then we had a great time there. But then afterwards, my grandfather was a part of I think it was like the Sons of the American Revolution. And so we went up to Groton, Connecticut, and they held a convention there. And it was on the ocean. It was just really beautiful, in this beautiful place, sort of like the Del Coronado in San Diego. Beautiful. Oh my goodness.
Well,
Yeah. So we stayed there like for 5 days on the ocean. And that trip was just so memorable for me because it was my first introduction to the East Coast and New York City. And I just loved it. So I guess that's my story. I mean, I have a lot of, we went like in Philadelphia, we went to, the Betsy Ross house, and we just had it was just such a good trip, to be able to do that and to spend time with my grandparents. And it was just a really special time for me.
did you see the bell with the crack in it?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
did in Philadelphia. But it's
Thanks
just,
to New York
and each
City.
one of those cities are so different from each other, yet, they're East Coast to me. So they meant a lot to me. I've been back to New York a few more times than Washington, D.C., but the first time is just amazing when you go anywhere.
How old were you? How old were you?
I was
Yeah.
12.
Oh.
12
That sounds
years old.
great.
Remember when Vicky came in to see Anna? It was the first time I had ever met you.
Yes.
We speak to each other almost every day. And I remember meeting her for the first time. It was so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get back there.
I know.
Sure, we
Yeah.
come. But wake up. And you know what?
Can you travel now? Could you do that?
Well, I got my second vaccine, so I think I probably could. I'm kind of waiting for Anna to get her second vaccine and then have her 2 weeks. And I think I'll probably be going there in the next month or so.
Wow,
So,
fantastic.
Well, welcome.
That's perfect.
Anytime.
Yeah. Hey, they've
And
opened
when
the
you came-
theaters there. The
I'm
What
movie
do you-
theaters.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. Vicky,
Yeah.
when you came here, we met at Grand Central, but you didn't come home. So next time, come home and stay so I can cook for you all the delicious
Get to that.
dishes,
okay?
okay? So, and I would
Okay.
like to. I
How
would
about I just stay a few extra days? And I mean, a week with Anna, maybe the weekend with you guys, maybe. Would that be good?
That would be
Yeah,
fabulous.
and you stay home. You stay home. Don't go to hotel, okay?
You don't know how excited I would be about that.
And bring Mr. Hank.
Oh, that's all his dream.
Oh, well,
is to meet
that's
Hank.
going to be
Hank is
hard
a-
pressed to do that.
Listen, I
That
never-
guy's a workaholic.
and I would like that he will be here with you.
Somebody's got to work to pay for all this.
Right.
Keep that man working.
Yeah.
Best way to do it. I'm sure they're waiting for you. I know.
Sometimes, Vicky, I would really, really love if you would ever feel like it to give me a tour on Zoom, like on a day like today, of Utah, of Salt Lake City.
Well, I'm
I-
not in Salt Lake, but if I ever go there, I will.
Okay.
Do it for
Yeah,
Leah.
she's in
I gotta get
California.
there
Yeah,
too.
do it
I've
for
gotta-
Leah. Yeah, do it for Leah.
Where are
I
you?
live in California. I live in California now.
Okay. Do
I
you have
live in the-
pictures of Salt Lake City left in your albums and stuff?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I grew up there. I've got pictures of the mountains, but I think the most beautiful thing about Salt Lake are the mountains. They're just, I just mostly grew up there, although, we lived in the city. I guess you'd call it a city during the weeks. And then we'd go up to the mountains on the weekends, and we spent all our summers there. And so when I think of Utah, I think of the mountains.
If you ever feel like giving
Get a chance to see
a memory trip of Utah City, maybe Salt Lake City, I would love it because I know
Okay.
nothing about it.
Can I
Let's
show
put
a
something
picture?
together.
Plan for the future, ladies. We can actually visit each other's cities.
I visit the mountains here too in California.
I like that idea.
I want,
We have a cabin up in the in Idlewild. I
Yeah.
can give you a tour of that.
Oh, right.
I love it.
Can
I love it.
see
I've never been to Iowa
can
either.
I speak?
Yes.
Because it just ties in. Can I show you, can you see this picture? Tell me when you can
What?
see it.
There he is, Tofi.
Almost, just about a little bit more.
Up or down?
Gina's here.
Right there.
Okay, that is where I
Yeah.
live.
Oh, is that beautiful?
That's where you live.
Colorado, that's Alamitos Bay in Long Beach. Can you see what's behind it?
Hi, she.
Yeah,
Oh
the
my
mountains.
God, that's beautiful.
No covered mountains.
I'm sorry for.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
lovely.
It is one, and Vicky knows this.
Okay, everything
Yes.
is you can
Freak
now.
storm
Live in a
yesterday.
desert
No, no,
environment and have
Very
What
true.
be able to look
Thank you,
on
brother.
one side, because
Thank
we live
you. Thank you
coastal,
so much.
and then to be able, and it only happens a little bit every year.
And it snowed yesterday up in
It
Idlewild.
is
It did.
unbelievable to see the juxtaposition of the snow,
Exactly.
and that's how clear the air has gotten too, by the way. I didn't know there were mountains here for about 5 years. I almost had.
Oh
I
my.
think we have
It was
snow
so
on our
smoggy when I
mountain.
moved here. Anyway, I love this picture.
It's beautiful.
Wow.
That is
That's just so
beautiful.
cool.
Beautiful.
Well, I know where to go for a little holiday too. I have to go to Lynn and I have to go to
That comes
Listia
first.
and,
That comes first.
She's here early.
California. For this whole
and now you too.
Come
I
see
live,
me.
I live in like the Palm Springs area,
Yeah,
which
Oh,
is
wow.
totally different than the coast. So,
Yeah.
but
that's the amazing thing about California. You can drive 2 hours and you're in an entirely different environment.
I know.
Yeah.
Or
It's,
up the
you know,
mountain.
we've got everything out here.
That,
Yeah,
I
you
know,
do,
it's-
don't you? It's
Yeah,
It's
we really
almost like
do.
its own
Yeah.
country. Except not too many Republicans, though.
I hope
very
not.
good. Good for
Thank
you.
goodness for that.
Thank God.
Get Shirley
Thank God.
started. Do not
Thank
get us
God
started
that
on
you know Governor Newsom is being recalled by these Republicans. Do you know that?
I know. I heard that.
I am so
I heard
sick
about
to
that.
death of this. The last time we had a recall was Gray
I
Davis
know.
was our governor,
I
and they didn't
remember.
like him. So you know who we ended up with for
Yeah,
governor?
Arnold
Arnold
Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger.
Oh,
I
And Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah,
I
that's
read
what
an
we're
interview
worried
with
about.
him just a few years ago, and he said, I never should have been running for governor. I didn't know what I was doing. And it was a chaotic mess until
Yeah.
we got
Yeah.
the Democrats back in.
Well, that's the worry we have about Newsom, right? That we won't have a Democrat to run in the next election, right?
We have to stop this recall. We have to.
I know. So he
We
can
have to
run
vote. No,
again.
no. This is a joke. These are the same people that are down. A huge article in the LA Times over the weekend. A lot. When I'm veering off here. Is it okay?
Just for a minute.
Okay, for a minute. When I was teaching in Fountain Valley, which is in Orange County, and the Vietnamese refugees started coming in, they came to Orange County. That was a launching pad. That's why we had this massive Vietnamese, Cambodian. Well, we have more Cambodians in Long Beach than anywhere, but the Vietnamese community is amazing. And it's just like half a mile from where I live is Orange County.
Mhm.
They have had that. It is
Oh,
turned
yeah.
into such a right wing
Oh, I
Trumper
know.
area. They're
Like an oasis.
it's just unbelievable how Republican it is down there.
It's
And
always, I think it was used to, like John Birch Society has a
oh, I had never
huge
heard of
following
the
there.
Society until I started teaching in Fountain Valley, and
Yeah.
they did an in-service and warned us to
Yeah.
be very careful what you say in your classroom, because the John Birch Society is watching everything.
Oh, God.
They're
And they
huge
have
there.
plans, and they want
Yeah.
to find, they think teachers are communists. We were communists.
They're crazy.
They're nuts.
Extremely right wing.
Ugh.
Extremely.
And that's for the same mess who's doing this recall. All because
That
he went,
doesn't surprise me.
all because he went
Okay.
to dinner at the French Laundry.
Okay, our minute's up. Our California politics is up because New
Yeah.
York's got it too.
I
They've
know.
got their own problems there
I
too,
know.
right?
Lasita and Lynn, have you told your stories?
Yes.
You missed it, Leah. You weren't here.
We should
How
just
about-
give a synopsis, but maybe I'll meet with Leah on WhatsApp. But I talked about a trip to Europe when I was about 12 and how we went to the mountains of Switzerland and how wonderful that was. And
Ooh.
Lynn maybe can summarize.
Did you ski?
Talked about,
Did you go
we were
skiing?
eating Tofi and Oman. We all have different. Leah, this is on recorded, so you can hear it all again at the recording.
Oh, okay. I mean, I thought I was on time because it said 1 o'clock.
What time is it now, Leah, in UK? In Wales, what time?
It's almost 6 o'clock, which is when I thought I would be supposed to be there.
Okay, so now, just for you to call, we have 4 hours difference. Because in New York, we added one hour, okay?
It's
Oh, that's probably-
daytime. We had daytime saving time a week ago. So
Yeah.
So I
when
should
you
have
do
been 5
daytime,
o'clock.
so
Yeah.
when you do daytime saving, we'll get the same difference between
yeah,
us in time.
Yeah. Now, Leah
For a
lives
few
Yeah.
weeks.
That will happen sometime soon. I'm not sure when, but sometime soon. But
Okay, so
okay, so
next
that's
session-
why I was late. I'm sorry.
The
That's
next
fine.
session, we're going to be talking about the things that are going on around us, as far as Asian Americans and all the terrible things that are happening in our world. Because I think not everything can be up and rosy. I think we have to talk about reality too. And
Well, it isn't Upper Rosie.
right. Well,
I just read this morning that
The Asian
Trump is
Americans,
forming
are you
his
talking
own
about-
social media. He's going to be back on, so he's going to have his own platform.
Oh,
Please stop him.
I just,
who is he?
he's going to make his own Twitter
oh,
Please
platform.
stop him, Shirley. Would you please stop him?
I've been asking people to do that for a long time.
Who is he?
Why, just the most recent eight Asian women are murdered, and he's sitting down there glowing in his
I hate his, oh
neo-Nazi
God.
world. Ugh.
Yeah.
I like to think I don't hate anybody, and yet
I know. I hate him.
it's extremely hard to maintain any of the facts that I don't want to hate anybody
I
ever.
totally
Because
That's to say,
hate doesn't do me any good. But so
hate
what I'm
doesn't
going
do anybody any good, but it's
what I'm
really
gonna
hard
do
not
is
to.
continue to hate what he does. I just
That'll
continue to
be
hate what he does.
Not next Monday, but the Monday afterwards.
Yes.
Okay, ladies. Shirley,
It's so great to see everybody. Vicky, it's so good.
Yeah.
to see
It's
you.
lovely to see you guys. I'm
We'll
so
see you
sorry I
back
missed you.
together, Vicky.
Ladies, we're going to a park right now with Lynn. We will stay longer than before, and this will be the first time my baby
I'm writing.
will go out for more than half an hour. Just want to.
Oh my
And-
goodness.
and you know what? Look at her hair. It's
Oh, I
her
hate
own
it.
hair.
Oh, look at my hair.
She doesn't wear the wig.
I wanted to say it right away. Lynn, I love it.
I hate it.
Look at
I
the
hate
blondie
it, I hate
lady.
it.
Look at the blondie lady. Show
Your,
it, baby.
your wife kills me, Tofi. Your
Yeah.
wife kills me.
I hate it.
What do you mean? What do you
Hey,
mean?
Lynn, I've got to tell you, you're looking great.
You
Oh,
are,
Julia,
Lynn.
would you stop?
I
Yeah,
will
you
make
do.
it to you. Listen
Don't
here.
say an eye,
Uh,
doctor. It would help
when
you.
she first had those chemo sessions, okay, so she
All
started
the way
losing. Baby, I love you. I love you.
Everybody loses it. I've had so many friends who've lost their hair,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's so
This is
difficult.
a funny
So
story.
difficult.
Okay? She
Nothing's
started
funny.
losing her hair till she became bald,
Totally.
and
Of course.
she didn't like it. I always touch her bald head, and they say it will
Nice.
come back.
Don't
And
go
you
back
know
to
what
the
she
place.
told? She told me, "No, I hate it, Sean. It will never come back. You're trying to blah blah." I said, "No, Doc, you will get it back." And she started getting it back. Okay,
Yeah.
but never accepted that it will really come back. It was a hard time for me to convince her that. And after 9 or 10 months, she get it. But she still refused to go to the beauty center. She told
I
me,
went last week.
she used to tell me,
She doesn't need to. She's just right. And you were before too. And even with your wig on, you were beautiful. So don't worry about it. You're the same.
Exactly.
no worries, baby. You're
I love you. I love
beautiful
you.
with wig or without wig.
Okay, Tofi.
Okay,
Hey,
love
you
you.
can't
Okay.
stop it. You know, you can't stop me from thinking you're beautiful.
I
Okay, so
love you.
Of
That's
course.
Thank you,
okay,
Leah.
ladies.
Actually, I was going to ask Tofi whether he had a favorite vacation. Why are we leaving him out?
Oh,
Yes.
because he's a man, you see.
Planning
He's a
to.
man.
This all night. Thank you very much, Lizzie.
I will be
This is a
sure. I will
woman's
be
group.
sure.
You're never
He's
sure.
an honorary member.
That's right.
Okay, I will be sure.
Put up with us.
I had two happy trouble. One when I came here to New York, and before, because I visited many countries. I was in Brazil, I was in UK, I was in France, I was in Dubai, I was in Libya, Tunisia, but they were amazing trips. But when I came here, it's amazing. Anyway, not only geographically, not in Europe, but the most beautiful trip I have is the heart of this lady in front of me. She's the best hearted, amazing, kind lady, and I live there. This is my happiness forever. I love you, baby.
I love you too.
That's lovely.
We love you because you love her.
Yes.
We love you because you're crazy,
And we
Tofi.
love you loving her.
And I also love you because you're crazy, Tofi.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
act
I'm
crazy.
crazy, Shirley, and he's crazy, Tofi.
I don't love their own. I love
Make
I
her
love good
smile.
crazy. Good
Could
crazy. you're
I
good
share one more thing?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Anytime.
I'm an army brat. My dad was a career army officer.
You're still
Yeah.
a brat, but go on.
By the time he retired, I was turning 14. And at that point, this is pretty amazing now. In today's world with people traveling and all the, all the easy access. But by the time I was 14, my brother and I, my mom and my dad, had been in every state in the United States, except
Wow.
the Deep South. And I've often wondered if my parents didn't want to go down there because of how nasty it was.
Yeah.
Hey, that's where I come from, baby.
Well, we're on the edge of that, Oklahoma and Texas, but you couldn't, that was all, a lot of the stuff that was going on in Oklahoma was being
I
buried.
know. It was some really ugly shit. going
Oh,
down.
horrible. But every state in the United States, except the Deep South, every country in Europe, except Spain and Portugal, the British Isles, Ireland and Scotland. And it was unbelievable. And it was,
You've been so many places.
and
so
it was
many.
all, we did everything in a car.
Oh, that's the way to
Everything
go.
in a car.
It's amazing to
That's
come by
incredible.
car.
The school, the military schools there, we were, American schools. They encouraged the military parents to take us all the time you can to get your kids out and see Europe and
Yes.
everything you can, because this is an opportunity of a lifetime, and your
It
kids
really
will
is.
learn more from traveling than they will from being. And we always had to take homework with us and assignments and stuff. But I
Yeah.
mean, I can't remember math. I could hardly say 10 words in German, but I can never forget the all the years of the traveling that we did.
That's
and I
awesome.
probably was the happiest because my dad didn't drink and drive.
Yeah.
He
Mhm.
kept sober.
So
I'm
Yeah.
just glad,
everyone.
I'm glad you survived.
Love you.
I'll be in touch with you. Bye, Lucy.
No.
Mwah.
Bye.
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 To everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Vicky. Bye
That
bye.
was fun. Bye-bye.
Do it.
Bye
See you
bye.
next week.
Ciao. Adios. Auf Wiedersehen.
Allahu Akbar.
Bye.
Namaste, Allahu Akbar. Bye-bye.
Allah Akbar.